Yeah, sure. All right, a very great to you. Welcome, and thank you very much for joining us on today in the Dailies, coming from you from 24 News, Radio, and Television at Twikiti. My name is Olushalayo. I welcome you aboard this afternoon, or should I say this morning. And we're going to bring you the top stories from the Punch, the online Punch that is. The first story here says over 14 million people could die from US foreign aid cuts, and that's a study saying that. Also coming from the Dailies today, Abia to unveil ABA export lab for economic growth. And Danta's body arrived Saudi Arabia for burial. Students protest against renaming of Poly Ibadan. And United Nations urges greater investment in Nigeria's MSMEs. And still coming to you from the Punch, police warn Bauchi residents against climbing network masts for attention. And Barao Ganduje, others arrive Saudi Arabia for Dantata's burial. Tanzanian Don Janabi assumes office as WHO Regional Director for Africa. US to revoke citizenship of 25 million naturalized immigrants. And Asian stocks rise on trade deal hopes as dollar falls. All these and more, alongside foreign stories and sports, will be coming to you shortly after this break. Do stay with us as I promise you to be very interested. Welcome once again. Welcome back and thank you very much for staying with us. On to the first story this morning. More than 14 million of the world's most vulnerable people, a third of them, small children, could die by 2030 because of the Trump administration's dismantling of US foreign aid, research projected on Tuesday. The study in the prestigious Lancet Journal was published as world and business leaders gather for a United Nations conference in Spain this week, hoping to bolster the reading aid sector. The U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, had provided over 40% of global humanitarian funding until Donald Trump returned to the White House in January. And that's the story you'll find under the title Over 14 million people could die from U.S. foreign aid cuts. That's subscribed to a study. I'm moving on this afternoon. Abia to unveil Abai Export Lab for economic growth. Abia State government has completed plans to unveil its Aba Export Lab to provide a platform for export development within the state and for economic rejuvenation of the state. The Commissioner for Information, OK Kanu, disclosed this on Monday in Umahia, stating that the Export Lab is a major initiative under the Growth Exports pillar of Governor Alex Oti's economic rejuvenation agenda. According to him, the commissioning of this export lab signals a strategic shift towards export-led industrialization drive in Abia State, which Aba has been at the forefront as the state's industrial innovation hub. That's a story coming to you from The Punch under the headline, Abia to unveil Aba Export Lab for economic growth. And moving on to more stories today, Bode George slams PDP is dead. Beg your pardon, I'll take that again. Bode George slams PDP is dead. Claims says party united. Okay, that's the former military administration. Alabama just saying the claim that the PDP is dead is not true. And the story goes thus. A top member of the PDP, Bode George, has stated that claims the party has lost relevance are false. George said those making such claims are simply first-class dreamers. He stated this when he featured on Channels Television's Politics Today on Monday. His statement was in reaction to talk about PDP's strength and recent defections ahead of the 2027 elections. Despite some challenges, George said PDP remains the most organized political party in Nigeria. According to him, the party has stronger structures than any other. He said, no way, those are dreamers. I'm telling you, they are first class dreamers. And that's a story you find from the inside page of The Punch today. All right, on to the next story this morning, and that's the story about the passing of a prominent northerner whose remains will be interred in Faroe, Saudi Arabia. Talking about the late Aminu Dantata. The story here says Dantata's body arrived Saudi Arabia for burial. The body of the late Nigerian business mogul and elder statesman Aminu Dantata has arrived in the holy city of Medina, Saudi Arabia, ahead of his burial scheduled for Tuesday. Family, Mustafa Junaidu, confirmed the development in a statement on Tuesday morning. Junaidu noted that the delegation had landed safely and was making final arrangements for the janaza, that's the funeral prayer. From that story, check it out from The Punch. On to the next story, which is about another prominent northerner, but this one is still very much alive, talking about Rabiu Musa Kwakwanso. The story here says NNPP leaders won against dragging Kwakwanso into vice president debates. The two factional chairmen of the New Nigeria People's Party in Kano State, Hashim Dangurua and Senator El Jibrin Dogoa have cautioned against dragging a former governor of the state, Rabiu Kwankwaso, into the ongoing debate over President Bola Tinubu's running mate in 2027. They also dismissed the report that Kwakwanso was planning to defect to the ruling All Progressives Congress. In the past few days, speculation has been rife, with many political analysts linking Kwakwanso to President Tinubu's 2027 re-election bid. The speculation gained further ground on Friday after the resignation of the APC national chairman, Abdullahi Ganduje, which many claimed was intended to create space for Kwakwanso in Tinubu's camp. That's another story you'll find on the online Punch publication today. And now, moving to the southern part of the country, there's another one that should interest everyone. That's coming from Rivers State. It says here, emergency rule, Tinubu may restore Fubara Rivers lawmakers in July. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is reportedly preparing to reinstate the suspended governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara, and the Rivers State House of Assembly later this month, following the successful brokering of a truce between Fubara and his predecessor, current minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyesom Wike. Presidency sources told the Punch that Tinubu is considering Fubara's return to office after a closed-door reconciliation meeting held Thursday night at the presidential villa in Abuja. The meeting was attended by both Fubara and Wike, alongside the suspended Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly, Martins Amaiwule, and several lawmakers. The Rivers State political crisis escalated on March 18, 2025, when President Tinubu declared a state of emergency in the oil-rich state, suspending Governor Fubara, his deputy, and all members of the State House of Assembly for 6 months in a national broadcast. Tinubu cited disturbing security reports detailing pipeline vandalism by militants, which he said the governor failed to address. He emphasized that he could not allow the grave situation to persist unchecked. For more on that story, check it out from The Punch. All right, moving away from politics and talking about something that should gladden the hearts of each and every Nigerian. There's a story that says US-based lawyer becomes first Nigerian to travel to space, and the story goes thus: a Nigerian-born lawyer and politician, Owolabi Salis, has become the first Nigerian to travel to outer space. Salis was one of the 6 passengers on Blue Origin's NS-33 mission, which launched from West Texas on Sunday. His fellow crew members were Ali Kuna, Carl Kuna, Leland Larson, Freddie Resino Jr., and Jim Sitkin. The suborbital flight, operated by Jeff Bezos' aerospace company, Blue Origin, lasted 10 minutes and reached a peak altitude of 105.2 kilometers, crossing the Kármán line, the internationally recognized boundary of space. Well, that's a good one for Nigeria. And well, congratulations to that first Nigerian, who is incidentally a lawyer, for being the very first Nigerian to travel to outer space. And back here at home, Ibadan precisely, there's a story that says two students protest against the naming of Poly Ibadan. I think that Poly was named after a former governor of Oyo State. Students of the Polytechnic Ibadan, Oyo State, are currently staging a protest over the renaming of the institution to Omololu Olunloyo Polytechnic. The protest has left hundreds of commuters plying Sango Eleyele Road in Ibadan stranded. The report The Punch reports that the state governor, Sheyi Makinde, had renamed the institution in honor of the late former governor of the state, Omololu Olunloyo, who died at the age of 89. For more on that story, check it out from the inside page of The Punch. before we wrap it up and tie it tight this afternoon, let's take one more that will interest everyone as well. And that is about the plot and, should I say, the moves and measures and what have you to unseat the incumbent president. And the story goes thus: coalition will fail Sokoto behind Tinubu APC chair. Congress in Sokoto State has dismissed ongoing moves to form a political coalition in northern Nigeria, describing it as a gathering of paperweight politicians with electoral relevance. Speaking to Punch in an exclusive interview at the Government House in Sokoto on Saturday, the state chairman of the All Progress Alhaji Issa Shah said emphatically that if any so-called coalition emerges in northern Nigeria, Sokoto alone will deliver enough votes to bridge any gaps for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the north. He specifically questioned the political relevance of former Kaduna State Governor Malam Nasir Elna had lost touch with the people of his home state, particularly the southern Kaduna people. On that note, we want to wrap it up and tie it this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. And do stay tuned, as very shortly we'll be coming back with our broadcast programs. Thanks for watching. Good day.